Hey y'all, welcome back to Mama Loves Manga and welcome back to another sit down and read your manga. I'm really enjoying this. I am loving this format. Like, judging from the views that the first two installments of this series have gotten, y'all like it, so I'm gonna keep doing it this way until y'all tell me otherwise. I'm gonna let y'all know what to expect in the rest of this video, and I will also have timestamps in the description box. My friend Laura, aka Manga Hoarder, explained to me how to make the time like clickable, you know, so I'm gonna do that and hopefully that helps, because yeah, I know that y'all don't all want to sit through the entire thing, and that's fine. So I would like to make it easier for y'all to listen to what y'all want to listen to. So in order of how I'm going to have these clips posted, I will be talking about volumes 3 and 4 of Karakuri Odette by Julieta Suzuki. This was translated by Ami Tokutake. Next, you're gonna see me chat about volume 1 of Princess Jellyfish. This is a reread for me. I explained in the clip that I was buddy reading this with a friend of mine. This is by Akiko Higashimura. I'm sure y'all all know that. And it was translated by Sarah Alice Lindholm. Sarah, thank you for translating this. Next, you're gonna hear me gush about The Rose of Versailles by Ryoko Ikeda. This was translated by Mari Morimoto. Then you'll see me talk about volumes 5 and 6 of Karakuri Odette. These are the final 2 volumes in that series, and I mean, it was interesting, but you'll see what I think when you see those clips. Hey, Editing Aisha here to let you know that I forgot to mention that I also read Cross Manage, okay? I read it on the Shonen Jump app, and I'll have a picture of it here. Here's the cover. So yeah, okay, bye. And finally, you will see me completely fangirl over Paradise Kiss by Ai Yazawa. This is the 20th anniversary edition, and this was translated by Maya Rosewood. And ooh, if you are curious about Paradise Kiss, if you have not read this, definitely watch that clip. If you have read this and you just want to know what I thought about it, definitely watch this clip. I'm gonna say that out of everything that I read in this particular video, these two right here gave me the most life. Enjoy the following clips and let's talk about it in the comments. Let me know which one of these you have read or you're curious about or whatever. I mean, if you want to give me compliments in the comments, you can do that too, because I could use some thank you in advance. Oh man, okay. Enjoy these clips. Bye. So over the past couple of days, I read volume 3 and volume 4 of Karakuri Odette. I am really enjoying this series. I think even more than I expected. It's so cute. I'm having a lot of fun watching Odette make friends and just be a teenage girl. She's super cute. Everyone that she meets ends up being adorable. The cast of characters is quite large, and I think that the mangaka does a really good job of giving them all very different personalities, and they all interact with each other differently. In volume 3, I think it's in volume 3, pretty sure in volume 3 you meet a character who is she's very interesting. She is this rich girl who lives alone, and you find out her backstory, and it's sort of like a supernatural backstory. Was it this volume or was it volume 4? Hold on. Wait. No, actually, I think maybe it's in volume 4. This girl right here on the cover. So anyway, she meets this girl and she has like supernatural powers, which I didn't really expect. But then at the same time, I mean, it is a sci-fi, so it's not completely out of place. But yeah, every new friend that is introduced is very fun and interesting. And there are other little side characters that you meet throughout, and they add a little something to the story. This is really cute. There are only 2 more volumes left, but I'm going to take a break and finish reading The Rose of Versailles, I think, possibly. But anyway, I'm very much enjoying this series so much, and I will come back once I finish the final 2 and let y'all know more. But yeah, very, very cute. I'm enjoying this so far. I just finished reading volume 1, or rather rereading volume 1 of Princess Jellyfish by Akiko Higashimura. So just a little backstory about my relationship with this series. I own the entire series and have read the entire series. I followed it from pretty much the beginning. And I remember like my first read through, I think I was just really excited to see what happened. So I definitely didn't read it critically. It was more so like, I'm just reading this because it seems interesting and I want to know what happens. And also at the time, it was, still releasing. And so like I would read a volume and then have to wait for the next one. And instead of rereading the previous volume, I would just read the next one. So there were just a lot of details and things that over time I had forgotten. So that by the time the final volume came out, there was just a lot from the beginning that I didn't remember. I had forgotten that the Amars, for example, are annoying, or at least at one point they were really close-minded and not necessarily people that I'd want to hang out with. In the beginning, you meet Tsukimi, who is the main character. She's anywhere between 18 and 20. I want to say she's 18, but in any case, she's quite young. And then you have her 4 roommates whose names I can't all remember, and they are all called the Amars, and essentially they're neats. Basically, a neat is an unemployed person who lives off of their parents. They get an allowance from their parents. I'm not judging. I'm really not judging. But knowing that they are essentially neats and seeing their actions, seeing the way they treat people rubs me the wrong way. And I think on my first read, I didn't pay as much attention to them. Like I was more so focused on Tsukimi and her relationship with Kuronosuke. Kuronosuke is hands down my favorite character, but I'll get to him in a second. I wasn't focusing too much on the Amars. This time around, I am able to focus on them, and they reminded me of those hardcore nerds that I knew back in high school who would basically tell me that I wasn't a nerd because I didn't look like a certain way or act a certain way. Because I was a cheerleader, I couldn't also be a nerd. You know what I mean? That's the type of person the Amars makes me think of. Very like surprisingly close-minded, because when you think of a nerd, you think of someone who like would maybe be more understanding because maybe they had been teased and made fun of. But a lot of time these nerds are out here being the most close-minded. I'm just saying. So yeah, they're kind of in. Tsukimi is a likable main character. I give her a pass because she's still quite young and she's learning. So she's not bad. I don't dislike her. Kuronosuke is my favorite. I adore him. I think that he has just the most engaging personality. It's interesting to watch him grow, even in this first volume, just like him learning about himself. And from what I remember from the rest of the series, like he gets a lot of even more character growth. He's just a very dynamic and engaging character. I really enjoy him. And also, I do think that Tsukimi, if I remember correctly, gets a lot of great character growth as well. Really, they all do, but Tsukimi and Kuranosuke get the most because they're the main characters. Kuranosuke's brother, I can't remember his name, but if you watch my Instagram stories, I did talk about him a little bit. I'm not a big fan of his. I don't think he's a bad guy, a bad character. I just am not a huge fan of grown characters. Like, this guy is in his late 20s, early 30s, who are written to be extremely naive. You can be shy and inexperienced at any age, but with age comes some sort of like, this should come some sort of like awareness. Like, I don't know. It's just hard to believe that someone is that naive when it comes to anything, but even like dating. I'm just like, come on now. How are you this naive? So he just kind of annoys me a little bit, but he's not bad. I don't really relate to any of these characters. There are certain things that I kind of can relate to, like certain traits or certain situations, and you don't have to relate to everyone in a story that you're reading. You don't have to really relate to anyone. It's more so just watching these characters grow and change. And I think that's what Akiko Higashimoto does really well with this series. Character development, character growth. So I am looking forward to continuing on this reread and coming back, after I finish a volume and sharing my thoughts. So I just finished reading volume 1 of The Rose of Versailles by Ryoko Ikeda. The English translation is by Mari Morimoto. The lettering and touch-up is by Jeannie Lee. The editor is Erica Friedman. Cover design, Andy Song. Like, there's just a lot of people that are on this page, this credit page, that they deserve, because oh my goodness, this is everything that I wanted and more. I know there are a lot of us who have been waiting for this to finally come into print in English. Many people who have been waiting even longer than I have, like way longer than I have. So to give you a little bit of backstory about my relationship with this, I have been aware of this series for a long time, but I didn't really become extremely interested in obtaining it and being able to read it until, I would say, maybe 2 years ago. And before that, I had seen it mentioned in other manga series. This is a classic. It is very renowned. But yeah, it wasn't until a couple of years ago that I was like, wait a minute, I want this. And I started looking for it and realized that it was not available in English. I found out that there is an anime, but by the time I found out about the anime, it was no longer available to really get. Oh my gosh. Okay, first of all, before I get into what this story is about, let's just look at this absolutely incredible volume. It's so beautiful. Look at this. It's hardcover. I stand. It is absolutely beautiful. The spine is not one that I'm worried about cracking. It's just beautiful. I can't think of other adjectives. Y'all, just the sheer beauty of this volume. The art is very indicative of the time frame that this was originally released. I love the expressiveness. I love the detail, the lines, the softness, the sparkliness. It's quite, dare I say it, girly, and I could see it being off-putting to some. I don't understand why you wouldn't like this, but I do understand that there are people who don't. I'm slightly looking at you crazy, like, why? How can you not appreciate the beauty of this art? But, you know, to each their own, whatever. Oh my gosh, the color pages. Look at that. Look how decadent and ornate and just over the top. The art style works so well with the story. So now that we've got the art style out of the way, this story, I got my entire life while reading this first volume. It is so entertaining. The story essentially follows a young Marie Antoinette and the goings on in the Palace of Versailles. The cast of characters is quite large. Hey, editing Aisha here. So I wanted to hop in and say that Oscar, how could I forget to mention Oscar? Oscar is my favorite character. Period. Oscar. Those of you who are probably really excited about this series already know who Oscar is, so Oscar needs no introduction. But to those of you who may not be familiar, Oscar is a person who was born female but raised as a boy. And, you know, I'm not going to assign any labels onto Oscar because at least at this point, Oscar does seem to identify as a woman, but she is just very masculine. So I'm not assigning any labels. All I'm gonna say is that I stan. It can be a little bit confusing, so you have to pay attention while you're reading. But there's a lot of political intrigue, there's cattiness, romance, all of the things that make a melodramatic story excellent. The dialogue is very witty. The translator did an excellent job in my opinion. Now obviously I have not read this in Japanese because I can't read Japanese, but I do think that the translation really does give us what Ryoko Ikeda wanted to give us. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so good. It's so much fun to read. And everything is very well fleshed out and planned. Sometimes with melodramatic stories, the plot can become convoluted to the point where it's like no longer fun. You're just rolling your eyes because it's ridiculous. This is melodrama done well. So yes, it's over the top, but I enjoy every second of it and I keep wanting to read. Like, not once have I thought, oh my gosh, this is so ridiculous. I enjoyed every minute of this, and I'm actually sad that I don't have the second volume right now in my hand. I'm sometimes very like hesitant to pick up hyped series because I might be disappointed. This did not disappoint me at all. In fact, it exceeded my expectations. This gives me the drama that I am craving, but I don't want to be a part of. You know, like I wouldn't want to live through this. This is stressful, but it's so much fun to read. Do I recommend this? Absolutely. I do understand that the price of this is not necessarily in everyone's budget. First of all, don't feel bad if it's not something that's in your budget. I never want my videos to make anyone feel like they're missing out necessarily, because when it comes down to it, y'all, this is manga, okay? It's not that serious. It's not a necessity. This is just a fun thing. So if you can't get it right now, like, please don't feel bad, but definitely consider borrowing it from your library. If your library is one that takes requests, definitely request this. If you have a friend that has it and would be kind enough to let you borrow it, do that. Let me tell you right now, anybody that's my friend, don't ask me if you can borrow this, because the answer is no. No, absolutely not. Not this one. If you have a friend who's a lot nicer than I am and will let you borrow it, do that. Ask for it for a birthday gift. It's not a cheap book, but it's also not cheaply made. Oh my gosh, like y'all saw. That's really all I have to say about this. I am so happy with this purchase. I'm so glad. I do believe that I've already pre-ordered the next ones, and if I have not, I'm going to do that right now because I need to make sure that I don't miss out on this. It's a 5-volume series, and I can't wait to read more. So I just finished reading volumes 5 and 6 of Karakuri Odette, and that means that I am done with this series, with this content about this manga. This was a very interesting series. In case you have not seen the previous videos I did on this series, I'll go ahead and give you a synopsis. Karakuri Odette is about a young girl who happens to be an android, and she's attending high school because she wants to learn what it is to be human. She wants to be a real girl. And throughout the story, you do get to see her grow and change and to become more and more human-like. But also, she's sort of learning how to accept herself as is. And of course, she meets a lot of different people along the way. She makes lots of friends. Honestly, my favorite thing about the series is the characters. They really make this interesting because the plot is a little bit wonky. It's a little nonsensical. It does jump between a coming of age, school life, story, and sci-fi, and it's a little bit clumsy. I feel like the mangaka wanted to play around with a lot of different genres, and maybe she didn't really know what she wanted to do with this story, but I do think the characters really save this series. So I really enjoyed it. I don't think that this is a series I would tell everyone to just run out and get. It is out of print, and I'm sure you can find it cheap somewhere. I found these on Right Stuff. They had a bundle sale. It was fun. I don't regret buying this, and I definitely don't regret reading this. I had a lot of fun, and I would read it again. Clearly, I'm still in bed. I just finished reading Cross Managed by Kaito on the Shonen Jump app. I probably should have done some research before I picked this up so I could tell you who the English translator is. I'll put that information in the description. My friend G had recommended this to me when I was looking for some things to read on the Shonen Jump app. And she was like, here's a list. And so I decided to start with that one because it was a shorter series. So if you don't know anything about Cross Manage, it is a short 5-volume series that is centered around a high school girls lacrosse team. Now, lacrosse is something that I don't really know much about. I mean, to be fair, I don't know much about most sports. I've been more open to reading sports manga, and Cross Manage was really good. I love that the focus is on a girls team. I enjoyed the fact that despite it being short, you still got a chance to get to know the characters and really care about them. I cared about whether or not they would achieve their goals. I really like that they are a team that does improve, but they are not they're not one of those, okay, so those of y'all who read sports manga or even just like kind of like shonen demographic battle manga where you have the main character or a main group of people and they suck at first or whatever it is they're doing, and then they just get exponentially better until they're like beating everyone. That's not this team, and I love that they do improve, but they don't improve to the point where it's unbelievable and ridiculous. It's quite refreshing to see a team improve at a normal pace. I really enjoyed it. There is, of course, a romance angle. It's not the focus, but it is enough. It gives you just enough of the romance, and you're rooting for the two characters. And they're so precious. Misora and Sakurai they're so precious. I love them. But anyway, it's mostly centered around this motley crew, this group of girls who have been playing lacrosse just for fun and they're not really good. And Sakurai comes in, and he's this guy who used to play soccer, but he had to stop because of an injury. And he ends up getting roped into becoming the manager for the lacrosse team. And he uses his skills from when he played soccer to help manage them, to help essentially coach them. And I really liked watching their dynamic, like his dynamic with the team. He pushed them, and they worked so hard. I kind of did get a little bit annoyed because there were some times when I feel like certain characters absolutely valued him a little more than they should have, because they're like, seeing the team improve, there are people that are like, oh, well, it's all Sakurai. And it's like, no. That is not the case. They improved with his help, yes, but they're doing all the work. It's like, it's a partnership. There are a lot of like the same old tropes that you're going to see, especially if you're someone who reads a lot of sports manga. You might be put off by the fact that there are a lot of the same tropes, but that's with any like genre. I mean, y'all know I love romance, and romance is full of the same tropes. I think for me, what really makes a story is the characters and whether or not the author has the ability to make me care about these characters. So I can read the same tropes over and over if the characters have their own individual personalities and the mangaka does a good job of making these characters feel fresh. And I think that is what Kaito did. Like, I wasn't sitting here thinking, oh, this character reminds me of so-and-so or so-and-so. Like, these were individual. They felt like real people, and I enjoyed them. So, yeah, I would absolutely recommend this. You can read it on the Shonen Jump app, or you can buy the volumes digitally through Kindle or Comixology. Yeah. I just wanted to tell y'all about that. So I am going to be buddy reading Paradise Kiss along with Shay from Shay Geeks Out and Lindsay, aka Lindsay Tubb. Like that's her name though. So but anyway, I'm going to be reading this along with Hello. With two of my friends, and I'm excited. I'm very excited to read this. That was my husband, by the way. I'm going to start reading this. We are reading 10 chapters a day, so I'm going to get started. Okay, so I just finished the first 10 chapters or stages of Paradise Kiss. So just in case you don't know anything about Paradise Kiss, it's like a coming of age romance that centers around Yukari, I think is what her name is. She's an 18-year-old high school student. She's in her final year, and she is, she kind of doesn't really know what she wants to do going forward. She is trying really hard to pass her high school exams because her parents want her to go to a good college. But she's not even sure what she really wants to do. And she's out and about minding her own business, being grumpy, kind of like me, out in public, because I don't like to be out in public either, girl. She ends up meeting these people who are very different from her and very different from what she's used to. And they are a group of kids from another high school. It's an arts high school. And, they're all designers, and they have their own place where they go to. They call it the atelier, and they make cool clothes. They're fashions. They make the fashion. They want her to be their model, and the first couple of chapters are spent with them trying to convince her, and of course she ends up joining them. But through all of this, she ends up developing a crush on one of the characters. His name is George. Let me tell you, if I were the same age as these kids, I would be all over George. Also, honestly, I'd be all over all of them if we were the same age. So far, the characters that have been introduced are all very interesting, and they all have intriguing backstories. I really want to know more about them. There's a lot of mess going on already in the first 10 chapters, and I'm here for it. I do want to mention that something I have been enjoying very much so far is Ayazawa's use of panels that feature just the eyes. I'm always very impressed by mangaka who are skilled at making different expressions. Her characters have the most expressive faces, and their eyes show so much emotion. And she uses that, she does this a lot, like where she has panels that focus just on the eyes, so you really do feel what the characters are feeling. I'm trying to find some more in here. Like, here's this one. The eyes are the focus. And like I said, it just really adds an emotional element, and I feel like it helps you connect to the characters a lot more. The one critique that I would give this is that there are some jokes in here, some things that are used as gags that I personally feel did not age well. It's definitely a product of its time, but I think that for the most part, everything else is pretty chill. But there's some, jokes made at the expense of a specific character who we don't really know them that well yet. They're kind of in the background. They are a part of this artistic group, but it's heavily implied that they are either transgender or they are someone who just likes to dress in women's fashion. Like we're not sure. And there are jokes, and I'm using air quotes because I don't think they're funny. I could see people thinking that was funny like 20 years ago, especially considering 20 years ago I was almost 14, and 14-year-olds are low-key rude, and they be laughing at things that are not funny. So yeah, I probably would have laughed, but almost 34-year-old me is like, nah, this ain't it, chief. But other than that, chef's kiss so far. I'm very much enjoying this. So I'm back. I just finished reading the next 10 chapters of Paradise Kiss. I am really enjoying this series so far. I don't want to really give spoilers, but the main character, Yukari, is such an interesting, believable teenaged character. I love when I'm reading a story that is older but still relevant. No matter the decade, no matter a person's age, you can look at this, you can read this and get something out of it. Oh my gosh, this is like coming of age at its finest. And I love that it's centered around the fashion sort of scene, these art school kids, and Yukari trying to find out what she wants to do with her life. Her relationship with her mother is very interesting. In some ways, it reminds me of my own relationship with my mother. I don't talk about my childhood very much for a reason. Let's just say that I don't talk to her. So, I do think that teens should be able to make decisions and make mistakes because that's how you learn. And that's what I really like about Yukari. And I'm enjoying reading this as an adult because it's a reminder for me, especially as one of my two children he's a teen, he'll be 14 soon. So he's entering into that stage. It's a reminder for me to keep my word. Hey girl, you said that you were going to let your kids have agency. So here we are. Hey y'all. So I just finished reading the next 10 chapters. Oh my goodness. I'm curious to see what's going to happen. I'm curious to see if this modeling thing works out for her. I really hope it does. I just love these characters so much. All of these kids, I'm rooting for all of them. I want them all to just be happy. I want them all to win. If I weren't buddy reading this, I would fly through this. Like, it's that good. But I think what I'm enjoying about buddy reading and having a set number of chapters to read is it gives me time to really think and process. I'll see y'all tomorrow with more. All right, we're back. So I didn't film my thoughts yesterday because I think I was just going to say the same thing over and over that, oh my gosh, I'm enjoying this. Oh my gosh, there's messiness going on. I figured I would just wait until I read the final 10 chapters. Full disclosure, I got teary-eyed. This is not a sad story. Do you want outside? Ugh, this cat wants outside. It was heart touching, heart poignant. I liked Yukari a lot. And I appreciate Ayazawa for giving us very well fleshed out characters. People have the capacity to do good and also to hurt. And it doesn't matter how good or level-headed or whatever you are, you can still make a mistake and you can still hurt someone. It also tackles parenting and the importance of parents letting their kids be who they are, but also while still guiding them. Young people definitely need guidance. Hell, we all need guidance. I'm an adult and I'm like, I'm still like talking to my daddy, like, daddy, why am I like this? But we still need to be able to be ourselves. This is a beautiful coming of age story that is wrapped up pretty nicely, although there is a side character whose life I would like to know a little bit more about. Like, I wish there was maybe like a little short one-shot or something about that person because I'm very intrigued by them. This was wonderful, and I understand why so many people love it. The fashion in this is just breathtaking. I would love to have a closet full of the outfits that George designed. I wouldn't even wear them because y'all see how I'd be dressing. I like to look at pretty dresses and wear them occasionally. That's all I have to say. So I'm going to go sit down and read your manga. Bye.